Okay, welcome everybody to the next Community and Development Update number 17 of the 17th of August 2014. We're having a bit of a special broadcast today because we are doing this just after we had a very large hack within Beta. At the time of speaking, we're very happy to say that most of the funds that have been taken from Beta have at this point been returned. There is 8.3 million still outstanding. We very much hope that this will be returned at some time soon too. Part of this broadcast will be about this, about what happened, about what it means for Next, what it means for proof of stake, what it means for exchanges, what it can mean for Beta. Also recap for people who haven't followed it, to know what actually happened as far as we know. We will also be covering the upcoming digital goods store release, because that block is coming up where the digital goods store is being activated, and we also want to inform you about a new site that is specifically aimed at music called Melodious, because Next is just going on. Basically, we have weathered a big storm and developments don't stop, so we're just moving on. Also on here is Ronnie Busin, who is the CEO of the Danish exchange CCEDK. He has some announcements. He will also probably chip in on basically what happens and what it can mean for an exchange when such large thefts occur. The other person that I have on here right now is a forum user called Tosh110. He has designed Melodious, at least the site, and he can tell us a bit more about that. That is about it. Let's start out with what actually happened the last few days. 2 days ago in the morning, I got an email, PM, over the forums by Lynn, who is the owner of Beta Exchange, which was at that moment the exchange where most volume of the Next trade took place. And he informed me that all funds from the exchange were stolen by a hacker. Someone had managed to get into their servers, and all funds in their wallet were stolen, which amounted, I just checked, to 51,670,000 Next, which at that moment represented a value of over $1.7 million. From that point on, the ball got rolling because a lot of people were affected, of course, by this, and basically our developers reacted very quickly after they were notified about this, because a few minutes later already there was a post by Come From Beyond, one of our core developers, who basically said we now have two choices. We can keep forging on the current branch, and the current branch meant the 51 million theft would be still in existence. We wouldn't rewrite the blockchain. And the other option that he gave was, what we can do is remove the blocks after the theft and basically start forging on a branch where the theft never happened. Um, from the start, there was a bit of confusion. There are a few things that can be done within Next, within the blockchain. If something happens on the blockchain, there is an option within Next that within 720 blocks, there can be a reorganizing. This is not what is called a reroll. It wouldn't mean that the blockchain would be undone. It's a legitimate function feature of the Next blockchain. It can be reorganized, and one of the ways to reorganize this would be to basically say this has never happened. The blockchain gets locked completely after that 720 blocks. At that moment, the reorganization basically isn't possible anymore. After that, you could manufacture a version of the blockchain where it never happened, but then it is what's called a fork, a hard fork. Basically, you say we have two versions of reality, and the forgers decide which reality they want to be in. That's the best way to describe it. So the first action that was presented to us was we can do a reorg, and we can go with a reorganized blockchain where the theft never took place, and one in which the theft did happen. And after that, of course, you have multiple options still, because there is also still the option of catching the thief. There is the option of the thief giving it back for payment, maybe, or maybe just even giving it back. There are many options, but it would mean we wouldn't change the blockchain. What happened after that was a very short discussion with the thief using the Next arbitrator messaging system, in which he agreed to give Next back for payment by Vita. And some things happened there that didn't go right. 5 million Next was repaid to Vita at that moment for a payment of, I think, 10 Bitcoin. After that, the thief says, said to us, this is taking too long. And basically said the deal is off, after which Vita still gave him 70 Bitcoin, but in total 110 Bitcoin, but the thief didn't react anymore. After that, a big discussion, of course, took place on the forum, because many people had lost their funds. And, well, you can say that a large discussion over what you can and cannot do with the blockchain took place. I won't go into my personal standpoint on this, because I think that's not helpful at this moment. But basically, the two positions are: yes, you can re-roll the blockchain without any danger, and basically undo a very undesirable situation. A lot of people have lost their funds, so Next would have lost a lot of people who had trust in the system. And the other one is, of course, 5% of all Next would be in the hands of a known bad actor, so who could, in theory, start dumping, driving down the price, buying up assets, several very undesirable things. And we don't want to have that hanging over our head at any price. So those were some of the arguments for a reroll. The other argument from the people for a reroll was, yes, but this is creating a very dangerous precedent. If you start bailing out an exchange, or even refunding a very large holder of Next, where does it stop? And who decides when it stops? Where the limit is? That's also, of course, a position that could be taken. Those are basically the two largest groups Also some, as far as I have read it, some confusion about who makes these decisions came up very quickly, because on the one hand we talk within Next about the community, and on the other hand we have within as you hear, I am very safe. We also have, of course, within a proof of stake system, the real people making the choices are the stakeholders, and these don't necessarily these aren't necessarily the same as the community. It could be that the largest stakeholders are quiet, are silent, and a lot of smaller holders are very vocal. And in that way, the consensus on the blockchain would be very different from the consensus on the forum. A lot of confusion. This took about a day, and yesterday night, or this night actually, we started seeing movement of the funds. So apparently, unbeknownst to us, there was a kind of an agreement. We don't, at this moment, we don't know what actually happened, but we do know that with the exception of 8.3 million Next, the rest of the Next has been returned to beta. So that's at least very good already. Most of the Next has been returned at this point. Well, most of the Next, more than 80%. Somewhat less than 18%, I think, I don't have the calculation here, has been returned. So that's results. We don't know how this happened. We don't know if the 8.3 million will be returned at a later date yet. So that's open. That's the situation as it is now. So effect of over 51 million Next, a big day with a very, very good discussion on what we do on the blockchain. I am personally very happy with that discussion because it's a fundamental one. And on the other hand, already a large amount has been returned, and we all hope, I think I can speak for everybody, that the rest will be returned too. Hello Ty, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Bess?
I was just finishing my recap of the happenings of the last 2 days.
Okay.
So that's been done, and basically I am very curious at this moment, first about the reaction that, the insight that Ronnie Boosing, Ronnie is the CEO of CCEDK exchange, if he has something to add to this. What would happen if this, what happens to an exchange if such a theft takes place?
Are you asking me?
I am. Yes, I am asking you. I'm very curious what your view on this is.
But I mean, I've been actually basically speaking with my partner about this situation all in all, and I guess there are question marks in basically why, for instance, there is an access directly to a total of 51 million Next just by one password. I don't see that possible really at our exchange, but obviously there must be other points also in fact here. But it does, of course, open questions all the time. When you experience some things like that, you're looking inside, yeah. You are saying, okay, are we fully up to date in all aspects to ensure stuff like this? I mean, even we could say yes immediately or whatever, you will always, if you are fully functional, of course, you would always try to double check after a situation like this. I can fully, what can you say, imagine the impact when a 5% part of the full, what can you say, amount of Next is suddenly gone to somebody who could, of course, just keep it for whenever he wanted to take it out again, and spoil everybody's, what can you say, idea of a good future within the Next community. So I'm fully in, what can you say, feeling with everybody in this sense, and obviously we can only say that we are looking forward and making sure that stuff like this, I mean, yes, you're always saying will not happen, yeah. Obviously, these hackers somehow can make wonders, and you never really understand how. Can always, not always, but they tend to find a loophole even when there's not supposed to be any. So 100% sure, I guess you can never really be, but you can always try to do your very best, being up and motivated all the time to secure in all the ways. I guess that was my point here for the moment being.
Okay, thank you. Ty.
I just wanted to give some input on, I don't know, I know I came late due to work, but I wanted to just provide some input on the hard fork issue. Have you guys discussed that?
No, we did. Basically, I just gave a description of what happened. I didn't really get into the hard fork. I described the two options that we had, not what could happen when a hard fork was done.
Okay, so just in case we have new viewers, I just want to share with people, first of all, what is a hard fork. Okay, so just in non-technical terms. So the way that the blockchain, the NXT blockchain is created, right? Every so many minutes, every minute or so, a new block of transactions is added. Okay, so a hard fork is from that one instance where the 50 million NXTs were stolen from BTER.com exchange. What it means is that a hard fork means that to rewind the history and go back to that one block of information and create a new block where the hacker does not have the 50 million and return it back to the original owner, which is BTER.com. Now that's what a hard fork is that doing that. Now obviously Gene Luke has put out a software release, a client release with the F at the end. I think it's the 1.2.5 F, and that's the one that if the forgers, the people that are processing all the NXT transactions, if they believe that a hard fork should be done, they can start using that version of the client, and then it will go back and assume that block of information has been corrected and the funds returned to BTER.com. Now, I'm speaking from a personal perspective. I'm not speaking for the NXT community when it comes to this decision. Okay, I personally believe that the hard fork issue is something that should not be done. Okay, and here's the reasons why. The reasons why is because when you hard fork a situation like this where 50 million NXTs got stolen, what happens is that the people that have 1 million NXTs or 1,000 NXTs or 100 or even one NXT coin, the question is, at what point do you stop? If somebody loses 100 NXT coins, do you come and do a hard fork again? Or is it only for the people that have a lot of money and a lot of stake in the NXT network? Okay, and originally when NXT was created, it was created on the premise that everyone has equal access to the network. Everyone's one NXT coin is the same value, and it has the same value. It has the same worth as anyone else's NXT. So whether somebody uses one NXT to go and do illegal activities, or they do legal activities, or anything whatsoever, that should be treated the same. And in the world of money, I think they refer to that as fungibility, or the money being fungible. And what happens is when we get into a situation as the NXT community grows, each time we get attacked by an outside force, whether it is a hacker or anything like that, what happens is when we hard fork the NXT blockchain or the NXT public ledger, what it does is it gives people, they lose confidence in it. Everyone that uses the NXT should have confidence that their NXTs are worth the same, and that no one else's NXT is worth more than theirs. Person or one exchange or one business or one organization or one institution has accumulated a lot of NXTs, and they request a hard fork, and the community jumps on it, or we decide to jump on it and hard fork the NXT blockchain, then what happens now is that the people that have more NXTs have control of the network. They should have control as far as the processing and security, securing the network, but when it comes to making the decisions on what path the NXT technology should go, that should be based on the entire community and not one business or one person or one organization or one institution controlling that. Okay? Because if that's the case, then anyone that has a lot of money can come in and take possession of a large quantity of NXT and force the community into a hard fork. Okay? And I have spoken with several different people that are prominent in promoting the NXT, and that is something that if that happens, and I'm not saying that it'll happen now with BTER because a lot of it has been returned to BTER.com, but I'm saying that in the future, moving forward, right, I personally believe that a hard fork is not beneficial and advantageous to the long-term survivability of the NXT platform.
Okay, I have a follow-up question for that. One that has been asked me quite a bit over the last few days. Do you think, this one is aimed at you, Ty, first, do you think that it was a good move by the developers to put out the new version so people could choose?
I absolutely do not believe so. I personally believe that that should not even be an option on the table. And here's the reason why. Because let's say that I lost, somebody stole 100 of my NXT coins. If I were to go and tell the developers to create a hard fork for the 100 NXTs that I lost, will they do that? And it's not fair. It's not fair to everyone that's using NXT, right? A new person today who comes in and acquires 100 NXTs or even 10 NXTs, their NXTs should have the same value as someone else's NXTs. So just because someone else lost 50 million of it, and it's unfortunate, and I really, I feel, really bad for the people that had their money there and they lost it and they had to go through this trauma and this stress, and I completely understand that, right? But it's unfortunate that it happened. But anyone that's using the NXT should be confident that someone else's NXT doesn't have more value than theirs.
Okay, this is I like it because my position is in this case a bit different, but that's probably because of my background. I think that in this case it was inevitable, basically because A, it was the first time that such a big thing happened, so it's a test case. The other side is that there was already so much panic going on that allowing people in that position to choose without forcing the choice, of course, becomes a viable option. It I do understand your position about the fungibility, and I agree with that totally. But I also, in this case, would take context in consideration with this. Within 2 hours, there was so much panic going on all over the place that at some point I think there should be a signal. And maybe the next time it will be a completely different signal, but because it was a first time, I think the situation was different.
Okay.
But that's my group dynamics background speaking here.
Okay, and here's my response to that. Is this, Bass? And I understand that you want the best for the NXT platform and the community, and likewise I feel the same way too. But here's the thing: what is your response, or what is the community response going to be to the individuals that lost 100 Next coins? Are we going to create an option for them to hard fork?
No, exactly. That's why I'm saying that this was a unique situation because it was the first time that this happened. And that in that case, also seeing what the response at that moment was and what kind of panic was going on, that this became an option. Not that the option as per se is good, but that as a method also to handle it seriously from a community standpoint. And I explained earlier before you came on that the community doesn't necessarily equal the stakeholders at this point, at least not the major part of people who forge. That at that point it could be seen as a good way to at least handle the panic. That's my point, and I would see that if this happened again, this can be handled in a different way, of course, but because it is the first time and it is a stress situation, this is at least the way in which the developers allowed a neutral way within the options that you have on a blockchain to be decided.
No,
and it turns out, of course, that behind the scenes a lot already was happening.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
In this case, this would be my response.
Yeah,
next time could be completely different.
Yes, I understand that the developers want to give the community an option. All I'm saying is that option would not be provided to someone that had a smaller stake ownership of NXTs, and that's not fair. That's not fair. The whole idea behind Satoshi Nakamoto inventing the Bitcoin technology was to give fairness and equal justice and equal fair representation to anybody that uses a cryptocurrency. And NXT was also based on that premise from the very beginning. We cannot allow someone that has more NXTs to have more say-so about what NXT should be doing or should not be doing on such a critical decision, such as a hard fork. Okay. Now I can understand there are times when if there's a security issue, if there's a bug in the network, or there's something that security has been compromised in the NXT blockchain, then I completely agree that we may need to look at a hard fork. But if someone gets their money stolen because of inadequate security, because that business or that company does not have adequate security, then that's just the price that you pay for not having sufficient security. That's if a bank leaves its vault open and somebody comes in and robs them and steals them, that's the price that the bank has to pay. That's not the price that the currency has to pay for that mistake. Okay, and I would like to say this is that you should the good news or the positive aspect that the NXT community should get out of this 50 million hack of BTER.com is that you should be happy that people are constantly trying to hack into the NXT network and trying to target the NXT community. The reason for this is because it has value. If it has no value, people don't waste time trying to hack into a system. Hold on here. Let me mute this real quick.
Yeah, this is actually true, I think, too. It was fairly interesting to see that from the beta accounts, NXT was stolen and Bitcoin was stolen. Obviously, a lot more was in there. Beta has a large portfolio of different coins, and this guy only stole NXT and Bitcoin. So I agree with you there. You only steal or you only attack if it has value, and that's a good insight and a positive thing. I want to first, before we go on, first I want to welcome John Middleton. He came on, John Middleton of the Isle of Man. Welcome, John. And yes, Ty, you had something to say.
Okay, what I was trying to say before my daughter started crying here is that okay, sorry about that, guys. What I was saying here is that the NXT, whenever we are under attack like that, and when I say we, I'm talking about the NXT platform and the NXT community. When we're constantly being attacked like this from outside forces, I look at it as a good sign because people don't waste their time, their energy, their computer resources, and their efforts to go attack something that is worthless. The fact that NXT is at the top of the coin market cap list, it will always be a prime target for an attack, a hack, and theft, and all these things. That's why I always say that if you are a prominent member of the NXT community and your face is public, right, you should expect people out there trying to hack you every day. Every day there is you are a prime target. Myself, you, Bass, anybody else, Evil Dave, QBTC, anybody that shows their face to the public is a prime target for a hack. Okay, and that should be expected. If you are a cryptocurrency that is ranked in the top 5 since the beginning of the year, you will always be on the hit list for these hackers. That is common and that is expected. So the thing that we all need to do is make sure that the thing that we need to know is that we need to maintain that level of security. Okay. So getting hacked is unfortunate for a small portion of the NXT community, for the businesses, for the stakeholders, and for the people involved. However, over the long term, it's actually a good thing for the NXT community because it shows us where the weaknesses in the system is at, whether it's in the NXT platform itself or with the businesses that are plugged into the NXT network, so that we can get it corrected now before NXT can go mainstream in the future.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else have something to say about this topic?
I would like to add this, Bass, is that this is a solution that I would propose that in case something like this happens in the future, and I'm not a computer programmer or a software developer, but anyone out there in the NXT community that is listening to this, this is what I would propose as the solution to a future hack like this, okay? And the solution to this that I would personally propose, and I'm not even sure if this can be done, but I have my buddy Leon, he tells me that you can do anything in software. You just got to find the right people to do it. So I'm going to throw this out there to the community that this is what I propose in the future when something like this happens, is that I propose that there would be a way inside the client to have a blacklist feature. And the blacklist feature is so that each person can personally blacklist stolen NXT coins. So, for example, if I know that if BTER announces that their NXTs were stolen, and I personally refuse to use those NXTs or accept it or have any dealings with it, I can take the account number of those NXTs, plug it into my client, and my client automatically knows that in the future, at any time that I do business or any kind of transaction that involves those blacklisted NXTs, I personally have the choice not to accept it or not to deal with it. And that's an individual choice. It's not something that the entire community has to blacklist the hacker. And what this does is it allows one thing is that it allows each person, each user of NXT to have their own choice of what they choose to do with the stolen funds, and it gives it does another thing too, is that it allows it prevents the hacker who tries to steal these coins from using it. You know, so they may use one or two. If he steals those 50 million, he has to unload them somewhere. He has to cash it out somewhere. So if whoever has the NXT client, if they have the ability to blacklist those 50 million NXT coins, then all the exchanges where he has to go and unload it and convert it to Bitcoin or any other altcoin, they can plug that number in somehow, and it automatically detects that these are the stolen NXT coins, and it can automatically blacklist it. So me personally, I would like to have that feature in my client or somewhere available to where it can be identified. However, it's on a personal choice. It's not a network choice that everyone is forced to do in the community.
Yes, exactly, because if it would be a network choice, we would get the fungibility problem again.
Can you hear me? Is my audio clear today?
No, John, this is the same problem as 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I'll leave it. Let's try.
Okay. I want to
we actually have a couple of questions on the YouTube live stream. I'm not sure.
That's good. Yeah, go.
Let me see here. Let me just read down the questions and maybe we can answer it somehow. Let me see. Okay, the first one is from Ian DiMartino on YouTube live stream, and he asks, do you think having that choice and possibility helped prevent a panic sale? So I guess what he means is basically having the choice of the ability to hard fork if you personally choose to do so. Does having that choice prevent a panic sale? What do you think, Bess?
I think that's why I was in this case for. Because I think maybe not just a panic sale, general panic, and with panic comes misinformation. Like I said before you came on, at the start of this we were looking at a reorganization of the blockchain, which is something different from hard fork. That's the first piece of misinformation. We also saw a lot of blame being passed around. This also happens when you are in a panic situation. So I think at that point, definitely it helped. It helped channel the negative emotions in a way that we at least could feel the ability to breathe again and take a step backwards and then see what we could do.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that for the people that don't understand cryptos, I guess that has a possibility the option to hard fork can provide some temporary relief and prevent some kind of panic sale. But here's what I have to say when it comes to the panic sale is that when you are if you're trading NXT, then obviously you're gonna be pretty much very active buying and selling NXTs as a trader in a currency, just like if you were trading the euro, the yen, or any other currency. However, if you are in NXT, if you invest in NXT because you believe that this is a technology that has the potential to change the world financially, then you should not allow a small event like this to affect your decision about NXT, because this will continue to happen. This will not be the first time. This will not be the last time. You can expect this to be on a frequent basis, okay? And here's something that I like to share with the community. We only get a piece of the information. Like, I know that there was a hack of BTER.com and 50 million were stolen, and then apparently a big portion of it was returned, right? But we never hear both sides of the story. We never completely know the story from BTER.com. We never completely know the perspective of the hacker, right? We don't know if they were even colluding and conspiring to do this on purpose. We don't know. Nobody knows. I'll give you guys an example of there was a prison that I was at where one guy came into the prison, a very young prisoner, and everybody said that he was a rat and that he had ratted out his older brother, and that everybody wanted to hurt him in the prison because they don't like rats and snitches in the prison. Okay, so they forced him off the prison compound, and he was forced to transfer to a different prison because it was not safe for him to be there, because nobody wanted him there, because everybody had ample evidence from public records that he had ratted out his older brother. Now, several months later, his older brother arrives at the prison, and everybody thought that they had done him a favor by getting rid of his younger brother, who was the rat, and he was very pissed off that people would threaten his little. What happened was his older brother had faced a life sentence, and his younger brother was also facing a life sentence, okay, for drugs, and he did not want to see his younger brother come to prison and for both brothers to stay in prison for life. So what he did was he actually told his younger brother to go ahead and rat him out and snitch him out and go ahead and cooperate with the government. He gave his younger brother permission to do that so that both brothers would not be stuck in prison for life. So now, if we didn't know both sides of the story and we only was told that the younger brother ratted out
Well, it seems that Ty has lost his connection, or I have. Can anybody hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Then Ty will probably just fall off at some point and come in again. I propose that for the moment we go on. We can pick up this topic later again. But I would also like to move on to developments instead of things that went wrong. In a few days, at block 213,000, the goods store will become available to everybody running the latest client. At that point, we will also be seeing a new site which has been specifically aimed at the music industry. This site will be called Melodious. It is being developed by Tosh 110 or 110, and it also is the result of a cooperation between Tosh and the other developers or the other people on the project and CCADK. Tosh, could you tell us something about what Melodious will be, what is being done for it, anything you want to share with us?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Melodious aims to be a wraparound of the digital goods store of Next. So we try to do what the digital goods store cannot do. This is, for example, store data. This is the music of the artists. And then people can buy the albums. Artists can load up to Melodious in the digital goods store, and we send a download link to the people with the album they have purchased. So we are going to do what the digital goods store itself cannot do. Can you still?
Okay. Yes. Could you tell us something more about how it will work? So, do people need to make an account? How do they get Next if they don't have Next, etc.?
Exactly. This is one of the biggest steps we are trying to reach. So yes, people would need to register to upload an album because we need the data first. So we need the music from them to be uploaded, and then they can list their music on the digital goods store. So after registration, the artist does not need the Next account for himself because we can create one. Everything is going to happen through the Melodious account first, and then they can cash out to their next account we create them. Is that understandable so far?
Yes.
Okay. So afterwards, new user could also register on Melodious, and we will try to make a bridge together with CCEDK to easily cash into Next and into their Melodious account. Yeah, we are trying. Maybe Ronnie, are you here? So we are trying to make this bridge via CCEDK, and people will not really recognize that they are dealing with Next in the first place.
Yes, you want my comment on this also?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think I mean, I just wanted to add that basically I think that this this idea of adding a digital content store to another, what can you say, as an additional asset to the Next community efforts and all that towards the future, I think that it's a wonderful idea, and of course from my point of view with 25 years of music or 25 years of experience within the music publishing industry in the past, of course this is a great, what can you say, welcome for me, I mean, to actually enter or get a little bit back into the music business, or combine it with the exchange that we are now establishing. So from my point of view, I see this as the start of something really promising on an ongoing basis for the next years to be, yeah. And I see that it's only starting now, and I hope that together, I mean, Next community, and this digital content store and CCDK together, we will actually every month be improving the customer experience on this store, so that we will basically make it easier step by step until eventually people will feel it as if they are, let's say, every time they buy something on the store, I think my idea or my hope is eventually that people should be able to even buy it almost instantly via special payment services that we will be adding in the future. But for now, of course, it's a basic payment via services like the SEPA transfers in Europe, and and swift transfers in the rest of the world. I guess we all have to start somewhere, and how was it? I guess we have to crawl before we can walk, yeah. And same way goes with this one. Thank you, Tash and Bas.
Exactly, and working together with this, we can make this all on top of the blockchain, so it's still decentralized, the shop itself. And artists give 100% of their earnings. So once they list their album into Melodius, you can either choose to buy this album within the next client or on our platform, and you will receive the music. So it's still independent, and the musician can get every of the profits made from his album.
Yeah. One question, because it's as I understand it, the site has several uses. Of course, on the one hand, it's meant as a very useful tool for musicians who don't have access to distribution at this moment, so it should make it very easy to sell their own work. On the other hand, it's a very easy way for music lovers everywhere to get access to this music. My question would be at this moment, if a musician sees this, or anyone looking at this knows someone who has a band or makes music or whatever, who wants to get it out there, how do they do this? Do they contact you, Tosh, or is there a way on Melodius to do this?
To list the album, you mean?
Yes, if they want to get listed and start selling, how should they go about it?
Yeah, you can register on the site then. Every user can create his own band, and every band in the beginning can list one album on the digital goods store. So that's all for free and easily applicable on the website later.
Okay, so it's that simple. Do people also need to, maybe you said it, but I didn't hear, do people also need to create their own Next accounts, or is this all automated?
I want to support both. So you could either go shopping with your Next account, or you can create a web wallet on Melodius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for musicians, the same, basically. They could use their own Next account if they have it, or they could use the web wallet.
Exactly.
Okay, good. And I also heard something about the possibility maybe to do something with ads. Is there any news on that, or is that for a later stage?
That's
so
still a thought, just.
Okay, that's just a thought. Okay, does anybody else want to comment on it? Well, maybe somebody else. Ty is the only one with a working microphone at this moment. Do you have anything to say, Ty?
Yes. I just, from a sales and marketing perspective, could you maybe I did not understand it clearly, but could you elaborate how Melodius will benefit a new musician? Like what is the biggest benefits that they have versus using iTunes or some other source that's already on the market now?
Well, the biggest benefit is at first listening your album just costs one Next. So at first Melodius can cover this one Next fee for listening an album, so that's for free. And afterwards, we don't want to get any of those purchases money. So if an artist upload his music and sells them, he will get all of the profits. And for example, iTunes takes some percentage off of that, as far as I know. So we won't do that.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have. So basically, a musician benefits by the low, extremely, it's almost practically free to upload the music to Melodius, and then after that, whatever they sell their music for, they keep 100% of the royalties for it.
Exactly.
Okay, and so from just a skeptic's perspective, because I'm sure that there are somebody out there listening right now that's probably going to be skeptical about this. What's in it for you? What's in it for Melodious to do this? Are they taking the ad approach where they make money off the ad? They make money off of the user information like Facebook and like Mint and like some of these other free websites. What's in it for you guys?
There is some ideas, like for example, we could enable Pro accounts later to enable better quality. Right now, you can just upload MP3. So then you could also sell your music videos or wave quality. But this is all not very detailed. So we are not first for the profit. We are first to make the whole platform working, and then we can go on and see if you want profits.
Okay, so basically, yeah, it's similar to like LinkedIn or any of those other services where they offer a free basic service, and then later on, you guys, as it rolls out and you guys progress, then there will be a paid premium service on top of it.
Exactly, I think so.
Okay, so right now, basically, you guys are just in a phase to acquire new customers and new clients, and then in the future, there'll be something added on top. Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tosh.
Thank you.
One last question. When will the site go live? Is there anything planned for that yet?
I expect it to be live on Wednesday.
Wednesday. So that is the 20th.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Going back to Ronnie from CCDK, I have understood that you have something to tell about the competition that was going on CCEDK, and you want to make them public right now.
Yes, it's the next campaign has now been actually going on for almost a month, and we didn't decide due to the vacation and everything to extend it another 14 days. I'm sorry, are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what was it? That was Friday at midnight. The time for this first campaign issued on the CCEDK exchange was over, and we did our calculation on who had done transactions in this period of time on CCEDK, and it's we could say in this case that people, just before I actually say the name or the username, I would say that some 43, 44 Nexters have been trading a minimum of 1,000 Next, whether it was buying or selling throughout this time. So something like 43 Nexters have actually been visiting on our exchange a minimum of one time doing this transaction. And in regards to who of these 43, obviously there's even, I think, more than 43 Nexters, but at least the 43 who did the 1,000. And out of this 43 is found the user by the username in CCDK called GST, and that's Gamma. What is that? Sylvia Tango. Yeah, this is the username, and we've decided in. Evil Dave, yeah, and we've been deciding to kind of say the username now for the user GST, basically to come forward either here on this forum or in the next forum, where Dave will also post the same information,
Yeah.
that GST as the username from CCDK has won the 5,000 next in this campaign.
Okay.
We will be doing it this way in order simply to, what can you say, double check that all is done in good order. We will not mention anywhere the next address. We will leave for GST to come up with the next address and then compare to the next address on our exchange to see if we are in fact talking about the same person. But when that is said, I would like to congratulate GST with this 5,000 next, and hope that he or she will actually run back to CCDK and get some euro or dollars for that 5,000 next. Thank you, and once again, congratulations.
Yeah. So user GST, if you would like to confirm that you actually are out there, there will also be a thread on the forum with a post by user Evil Dave. But you have won 5,000 next, which is, by the way, if you look at CoinMarketCap, going up in value at this moment. So, congratulations. I think one thing I just want to say, just coming back to the hack story before I forget, because this also ties in with what Ty has said earlier. Maybe some people know, but maybe not everybody. I am also involved with making contact with businesses and getting them where they need to be, getting them the contacts. Over the last few days, I have been contacted by several businesses during the whole hacking incident, and there was severe worry about a possible blockchain re-roll for exactly the same reason that I said, because this was a re-roll affecting only this was a fork or a reorganization just involving one account, but it's very worrying, apparently, according to what I hear from these businesses, that even the possibility would be there, because there's also the situation that you get, what if one business has built and done business with someone else, and that business manages to push through a re-roll and basically undo their deal. That's for businesses a really big worry. So I just wanted to.
Hey Bass,
Yeah?
I wanted to add something to that since I got cut off earlier, and I wanted to say what I said earlier. The blockchain, the public ledger in the NXT network, the NXT public ledger is designed to record data. At this moment, it's being used to record data that is being used as a currency. In the future, when other people add stuff on top of that and record more information in that public ledger, in the NXT public ledger, I want everyone, I invite everyone to consider this. A time will come when copyrights, trademarks, birth certificates, driver's licenses, possibly passports, visas, very important documents. What if those documents were recorded inside the NXT public ledger? I invite you guys to ask yourself, right, what would happen if we reorganize the public ledger, we created a hard fork, or any of those activities, right, to rewrite history? What would happen to the data that is in there? The reason why cryptocurrency has such value is because the data that's in the public ledger cannot be changed after there is a consensus among the network that it is correct. And that's very important. And for the long-term survival of NXT, we have to consider that long-term view, and we cannot let one or two incidences in the short term affect how the NXT should evolve and progress. And I think that I got a note from Bitcoin Paul, and I don't understand this, but he told me that in the comment he sent me. He said that don't use the term hard fork when you talk about the BTR incident because it would have been reorganized and not hard fork, I guess. And then without full transparent forging, reorganization is possible for 720 blocks. With it, it would be possible maybe for 10 blocks. Now, I'm not even sure if I'm reading that correctly or if I'm even explaining it correctly, but that's what he sent me. So I'm not very technical on that stuff.
No, that's true. I explained this before you came in. We have within 720 blocks the next system supports the possibility of a reorganization of the blockchain. That is an inherent feature. But because there is a feature, that doesn't mean that it needs to be used. The one thing, this is my personal opinion again, so I'm not speaking for Next when I say this. It is, if there was one person who already pointed out that this has been used in the past, a hard forking for instance, but reorganization could have been done could have also been done when there were bugs in a release. And I would say that is a valid use. Because if there is a bug, the system doesn't work, it becomes less secure, boom. Then the system doesn't do what it is supposed to do. If there is a security breach, it's also a different story. There is a big difference between a security breach or a bug and something that happens between users. And basically we could say that this, even though it's a hacker, it's still something between users of the blockchain. That's all that I am saying about it. I do think that what you said, Ty, about the future, taking the long term, what we do now determines how we will be seen in the future and what we can do in the future. If Next becomes a system where all these important things that we are now doing via banks and via notaries, etc., lawyers, are going to be done with the rule set we put on the blockchain, and then we are known to be able to change it, that's a very bad precedent. So I think that that is also one of my biggest reasons to say that I am really happy that it went down the way it did. That's my statement on that.
That's all I have to say about it. On the YouTube live stream, Lee Grant a few seconds ago just may ask if Next versus Ethereum / Bitcoin. I'm just gonna say, Lee Grant, to just search on YouTube. I have already made a previous video. What's the difference between NXT versus Ethereum? So you can just search for that instead of us answering.
Well, there's a few things coming with that. I do know that a few Ethereum-based companies are interested in Next at this moment because they are now seeing that the Next system already has functional what Ethereum is promising. So this is a bit of inside information that I am allowed to give. We have been contacted by a few companies that were considering Ethereum, but who have been convinced to take a very hard look at Next and are going to do things on Next because it basically does what they wanted out of Ethereum. So that's good news.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So.
For the rest, I think this is what we have. I think once again that we over the past few days have done tremendous work as a community, as developers, as forgers, and I'm very happy that that at least most of the funds have been returned, and let's hope that the last 8.3 million will also be returned. One last thing on that, please, please, please do not post, even especially if it's just a hunch, do not post personal information of suspected hackers on the forum. If you don't have proof, do not do it. And if you do have proof, please contact the forum admins who are already working with people on this too. Because otherwise, if we accuse someone wrongly and this gets out, that person, let's start with that, could be in serious trouble. If you are accused of 1.7 million theft, you don't have an easy life anymore. And if we get involved with that as a community, you really have a problem too. So I would really want to ask everybody not to do that.
Yes, I agree with that completely. I'm from the U.S. and there are defamation laws in the U.S. where you're not allowed to say bad things about other people, especially when you do not have evidence. And the last thing we want to do is post something on the forums when if you suspect the law enforcement in your country or in your area, and report that to them, because when you make that public and you point somebody towards their Facebook or their LinkedIn or their public profile, and it turns out that that person is innocent, that will only hurt the NXT community. That will not do anything whatsoever to benefit the NXT community. And the last thing that we want to do is be known as the community that makes false accusations and go out on a witch hunt and bring innocent people into the mess. So if you do believe that you have accurate information and accurate data, the best place to go for that is to the law enforcement in your respective countries, and avoid posting it in the forums and you are not 100% sure. Okay, and if you see someone posting that, to reconsider before you support that person's post, because you never know. You never know if someone is truly guilty or not unless they've been through a process to determine guilt or innocence. If I did not like Bass, I can easily, set him up as the fall guy and make accusations that he's the hacker or he's the criminal, and then everybody makes comments and make him look bad when in fact there's nothing. And in the crypto community, especially in the forums, it's very common that if someone is very makes a lot of comments and there's a lot of comments against one person, that we naturally assume that that person is a bad person. And I just invite everyone just to be very cautious about that. If you really, really believe that you have the evidence, right, there's an FBI hotline in America, and there's several law enforcement hotlines where you can report to them and do it anonymously and not even have to reveal who you are. Okay?
Yeah.
And let them investigate it.
Okay. On that note, I would like to close today's hangout. I would like to thank you, Ty. I would like to thank you, Ronnie.
Bas?
Well, yeah.
Bas, I think we actually forgot one point in regards to the digital content store. I guess I promised you to mention this point in regards to our preparation to get the message on this content store out to as many people as possible worldwide.
Yeah.
And one way of doing that is, of course, to have the articles that we have made so far as to establish a certain hype prior to actually giving the articles with links to the store. We have posted, or Bas have actually posted on the next forum the articles in the various language sections with the wish of people from those different from those different countries with those languages to actually help translate the articles and then basically send it out to as many media as possible in that area, as well as handed it back to the people. Like for instance myself, who could then address people in the music industry business through my emails from previous years, and this way we could make a mass communication to as many places as possible in as short a time as possible. So I think we can really make a good impact this way, but it does need some kind of translation of these articles, because there are lots of artists who you could say may even wish to or don't like to read or even speak in English. It could be Chinese, Japanese, Malaysians, Indonesians, or whatever, or even in the Arab world. We want everybody to post their material in the digital content store and to be active and eventually become users in the next community. That's a deep down thought, of course, in this also, yeah.
Okay, so that's true. Ronnie is right. I have posted in every part of different languages in the next forum 3 articles that are now in English, and we would really appreciate if you could translate these, and if you have the information, send them to newspapers, news sources, websites in your language so we get the message out. Please include the links in that. If not, please send them to me. Then I can send them on to, for instance, Ronnie, and we can get the message on the digital goods store distributed as widely as possible, so we get many, many, many users, which always is the first thing you need to have if you have a future. So on your separate language forums on the forum, there are 3 articles, and please, if you can, translate them for us. I will post in them too. That's it for us. It's been a long one, but it's been a good one, and I hope to see you all next week on Sunday again. Thank you.
Thank you.